So hi everybody, welcome back to Tales from the Rails. I'm John. We're standing here in car house number 1, getting ready to move out 4 cars from track 1 and 5 cars from track 4 so that we can get to 2601 here over the pit where 525 is right now. Here we are at 525 departing bookstore. So this is the LA Railway Power Car number 9209. Was used for taking materials out to work sites. The car was built in 1913. It was placed in storage in 1951 and it came to the museum in 1959. So this was one of the first cars that they acquired and took out to Traveltown, USA. This car is unpowered and it's going to be a hassle to get this thing out of the barn. So they're going to have to probably put down some sand and make sure that it doesn't slip. We're going to be towing it with the crane car, so the crane car is going to have to take its own weight up the hill as well as the weight of this car. Here we have the Los Angeles Railway number 9225 crane car. This car was built in 1912 and it was in operation until 1963, which was the entire length of the Los Angeles Railway. The front section is where the operator moves the car back and forth on the rails, and the back section is all the workings for the crane. The crane section is still operational today and it still stays in car house 1. This one right here, Los Angeles Railway number 525. This car was built brand new in 1906 and was retired in 1955. It's completely operational. It's a Type D Huntington standard. It's made entirely of wood. It has a metal skin around the outside and the front, but it's completely wooden construction. We bring it out once a month. Okay, so this one's the 1160. It's a Type F4 car. It was built in 1923 by the Los Angeles Railway. It's 48 feet long, weighs 47,100 pounds, and it has seats for 48 people. And here we have the Los Angeles Railway number 9350. This is a tower car. It's made entirely out of wood. It has an insulated crane section that can be raised up to the height of the overhead wire so that electricians could work on problem spots of the overhead wire without being electrocuted. The car was built in 1907 and it ran right until 1963, the entire length of the Los Angeles Railway. Car 19 was built in Japan for the Kyoto streetcar system. It was built to turn of the century American design. It uses American-made grill truck for its running gear. The car's design goes back to the days before air brakes were common in use. Instead, it utilizes dynamic electric brakes and hand brakes to stop the car. The motorman and the conductor both apply the brakes by cranking the handbrake handles on either end of the car. So it takes a little bit of effort to get this car to stop. So you don't want to go very fast, and you don't want to use the dynamic braking because this car was built in 1910. Okay, so this car is the Desconso Funeral Car. This car was built in 1909 and it ran until 1924. For $25, you could rent this car to take like a limousine. It would take the whole funeral party plus the guest of honor to the funeral. This car sat up at the Cajon Pass for a time. It was part of a clubhouse. It was in 1990 the car was restored to its 1921 appearance. And here we have the LATL 2601. This car is the star of the show today. Everything that we're doing today is to get this car out of car house number 3, where it's been undergoing an extensive restoration for a very long time. We had to use an extension cord to get the car underneath the wire, but once the car was physically under the wire, we were able to put up the pole, and it was on its own from that point on. This car was built in response to public clamor following the fare increase of 1928 from a nickel to 7 cents, which was the fare for the first 50 years. The Los Angeles Railway ordered 2 new experimental Type M cars, number 2601 and 2602. They were intended to be the prototypes for a large order of new cars. The Great Depression intervened, and the resulting drop in revenues forced the company to give up its plans for the new cars. By then, the PCCs had been invented, and it was all PCCs from that point on. And speaking of PCCs, here's Los Angeles Railway number 3100. This car was built in 1943 during World War II because public transportation was very important during World War II. Everything was done to discourage people from driving their cars. There was a national speed limit of 45 miles an hour. Tires were being rationed. Gasoline was being rationed. The city of Los Angeles was so important to the war effort with all of the aircraft factories that public transportation needed to be increased to get people to those important wartime jobs. So the city of Los Angeles was granted permission to have a certain number of these cars built for them. The car ran until 1963 on the J line, and it lasted right until the end of service. This is a Los Angeles MTA car, 3165. So there were 165 PCC streetcars in Los Angeles. Number 3001 sits behind it, and this one's number 3165. So this is the last of the line. And it operated right up until 1963, and then it was put in storage. It was restored and then put in storage, and then we got our hands on it. So this is how we haven't done anything to this car. Oh, this car is an all-electric. It has no air at all, so it has electric doors, electric brakes. Well, that's a wrap on today's move. We finally got number 2601 over the pit, or near the pit in car house number 1, which was the point of today's move. Everything has been taken apart, painted, and put back together, serviced, resurfaced, refinished. This car is almost ready to go. All we have to do now is fix the wheels and service the trucks, and then we can have it out for service at the Southern California Railway Museum.